Okay, let's go.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Aiden, and welcome to Around the Rim Radio. Do the Atlanta Hawks need a trade? Do they need to make some moves? What are they going to do, and how are they going to do it? Let's hop into it. Alright, so the first part of this video is going to be about Zachary Ricochet. So the Atlanta Hawks say that he has not developed as they have hoped, and they are open to moving him if the deal is right. So there's been a lot of talks about the Atlanta Hawks and the Dallas Mavericks potentially doing a trade for Anthony Davis. I really do like Anthony Davis. I think he's a good player, but he just cannot stay healthy. So at first I was kind of thinking like, oh, well, if they trade for Anthony Davis, they're going to have to throw Porzingis in the trade because I don't think that it would. I just don't see how they wouldn't. I mean, you're going to have two big men who are really injury prone. That's just asking for everything to go wrong, basically. But as I got more into it and started reading more into it, if the Hawks are prepared to package Ricochet with the expiring contracts held by Porzingis, which means Porzingis would be included into the trade, which is what I was hoping would happen for Atlanta's sake. But this is just kind of crazy that the Hawks went through this offseason. I mean, they signed Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they signed Kristaps Porzingis, they kept Okongwu, they got rid of an aging Capella, Jalen Johnson has taken a huge step, Trae Young is still a star in the league, Dyson Daniels has taken a huge step, and it's just kind of, saddening that the Atlanta Hawks went through that whole offseason. Everyone was talking about them. They're going to be, top X team in the West or in the East. They're going to make it to the second round, the conference finals, all this stuff, and it is just completely fell apart for the Atlanta Hawks. So I'm going to be very interested to see what they do with Zachary Ricochet. Are they going to trade him? Are they going to hold out hopes? Over the last few years, he obviously is not he is the worst first round pick, the first overall pick, I should say. Out of the last like 3 to 5 years. I mean, you had Wemby, you had Paolo, so the Hawks kind of got a bad pick in that, not a bad pick. They did get the first overall pick, but not a great draft class. But yeah, I mean, it's just very, very interesting, very intriguing to see what they're going to do with the Ricochet here. So let's move over to Trae Young. All right, so this report here does indicate that the Hawks are certainly indicating that they're looking for the exit ramp with Trae Young. They did not make any attempt to get him signed to an extension. When that's the case with your face of the franchise, that it's a pretty clear message that the end could be near. So that is true. The Atlanta Hawks did not sign an extension with Trae Young, which, that is a pretty big deal when you do have a star player like Trae Young. A lot of teams just want to get him on the books, get him signed, get him extended ASAP. The Lakers did it with Luka, the Rockets did it with Kevin Durant. A lot of teams do this. And the Hawks are in no rush to do it, if they're even going to do it. Trae Young is not a good defensive player. I did see a stat that they were like 0-6 since his return, and they've given up 125 points in every single game that he has played. So, in a previous video when I talked about Darius Garland, I said that these small point guards are going to get played out of the league. Obviously played out of the league. They're going to be in the league. They're always going to have a small guard. But again, like with Trae Young, I mean, great player. He's going to get you a lot of points, a lot of assists. He doesn't shoot very efficient. He'll hit a couple threes, but they're going to get sniped on defense. They're going to get focused on the defensive end. The team, when they play against players like Trae Young and Darius Garland, they're just going to set a pick, get the switch, and play the mismatch. They're going to do it every single time. They've been doing it over the last couple of seasons because they have found, hey, if I can get a 6'1", 175, 80-pound Trae Young on me, and I'm 6'9", 235, 40-pound Kawhi Leonard, what do you think's going to happen there? I mean, they're going to just do it every single time, which is why teams are scoring on the Atlanta Hawks like this. Yes, you have Jalen Johnson. Yes, you got Dyson Daniels. Yeah, you got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But they're the backside help. They're the weak side help. And when you get these one-on-one matchups with Trae Young and you are a bigger player going against him, you're just going to score. That's going to be just the basic stat of it. And with the Atlanta Hawks, I mean, they're in talks about Anthony Davis, but do you trade and get an Anthony Davis without pairing him with a Trae Young? That's a good question. Why would you go get Anthony Davis who thrives when he has someone that can lob him the ball like how LeBron did, how, you know, Drew Holiday did. Like these players like Anthony Davis need a player like Trae Young. So to me, it just honestly does not make a lot of sense on why the Atlanta Hawks would go trade for Anthony Davis, but then yet get rid of Trae Young, unless they're going to bring in a player like Trae Young who can pass like that. But there's not a lot of players that can pass like Trae Young that are realistically going to be available. You know, you're not going to get Luca. You're not going to get LeBron. You know, you're not going to get Shea, who I think passes very well. You're not going to get Halliburton. So, like, what do you do if you're the Atlanta Hawks? Do you keep Trae Young, try him with Anthony Davis? We'll just really have to see. I mean, they've tried this Porzingis thing with Trae Young. It hasn't really worked out because Porzingis just doesn't play basketball. He's always hurt, he's always sick, or whatever. But just to me, this whole trade for AD thing just doesn't make sense. Alright everybody, that is going to be it for this video. If you liked the content, please hit that sub button down below, turn on post notifications, and leave a comment as well. I just wanted to touch on the Atlanta Hawks. It's very interesting what's going on between Trae Young, Ricochet, Porzingis, and then their talks with the Mavericks about Anthony Davis. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that for you guys and kind of go over everything. Again, thank you guys for joining this video. If you guys have any questions or anything you'd like me to talk about, just leave it in the comments below. But other than that, I really appreciate you guys.